Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter from TopTechBoy.com, and we are here today with our Shop Talk Live number 3, where we are going to be talking about artificial intelligence. A lot of the stuff that we're doing with Arduino is not really in the category of artificial intelligence. It's something where the strategy and the approach rest with us, and then we realize that strategy or that approach in hardware.
Guys, this is Paul McWhorter from
Sorry, let me turn this off.
We are here today with...
Sorry, I had the preview on and it kind of fed back, but we got that taken care of. So in all the things that we're doing, it's like we define the strategy, we define the approach, and then we implement it. So all of the control is really with us, and then we put it down into hardware to do something useful for us, but it's really completely we are the ones that are defining the strategy, and we're the ones that are defining the approach that we're going to use. Really, the artificial intelligence now is getting down, though, to the level that as home hobbyists we can start using it and can start kind of considering playing around with it or incorporating it into some of our projects. Certainly not on the Arduino, but even on something like the Raspberry Pi 4, there are some packages that you can download, or that Jetson Nano is a really powerful computer on a board, not much bigger than a Raspberry Pi, that certainly can do a lot of artificial intelligence. There's actually some packages that you can download that will start doing things like facial recognition and some other you would consider more classic artificial intelligent functions are. But kind of what I want to do is I want to see, like, how concerned are we about artificial intelligence and where it might go. Now on the surface it's pretty easy to get excited about. Like if you think about a car, you know, maybe you make the car a little safer by putting some artificial intelligence in it. I just had to buy a car a couple of days ago, and I got a Toyota Camry. I'm kind of like past the days of wanting fancy sports cars and things like that. I just sort of want something that's very reliable. And so I just went up, I bought a new Toyota Camry, and then just got in it, drove it home. Sort of surprising on the way home, you know, for some reason I was kind of drifting off the road a little bit, not in any, you know, serious sort of way, but just a little bit distracted, and all of a sudden the steering wheel went like this and pulled me back on the road, and it started beeping at me. And well, hey, it was seeing that I was losing, you know, I was losing the center of the lane, and it actually intervened. It didn't just give me a warning of a beep, but it actually turned the steering wheel. And so I kind of like just took my hands off the steering wheel, and then it started telling me, put your hands back on the steering wheel. Like, it knows it can kind of drive itself, but then it also knows that you're playing with it and letting it drive itself, and then it starts like complaining at you, like, put your hands back on the wheel, I'm just supposed to help you in an emergency. Then as I was doing that a couple of times, playing around with the, you know, being an engineer, I'm going to play around with that auto kind of drive yourself sort of feature, and then it started flashing me that I needed to pull over and get some coffee because it thought I was distracted because of the number of times I was losing control, or, you know, losing the center of my lane. The other thing I noticed is instead of just a dumb cruise control, it had a smart cruise control. So if I'm just tootling along with the cruise control on and I start coming up on someone, it senses the person, and then, you know, I might have said that I wanted to go 70, but it slows up to 68 to maintain that distance. You see, do things like that make cars safer? Yeah, I really think they do. So when technology comes out, it definitely, you can see the advantages, and you can see why you would want to do something like that, or, you know, you can see the attraction with the technology. But then the question is, are there other things that we have to think about? Are there concerns that we might have? And so, you know, I've kind of just given you a little bit of an introduction, and let me kind of start looking at your questions. And then I've kind of talked about an exciting application, making cars safer. You know, there's a lot of exciting things. You know, there's some military application where it helps us get the bad guys, and, you know, there's a lot of things that you could be excited about, but we need to look at the broader picture. And so I'd be interested in hearing some comments from you guys. So let me go over to the comments and see what people are saying. Okay, nice background. Okay, hey, yeah, you like my new graphics? I'm playing around with things. Okay, Cool Deep Singe says a great topic. Okay, good. Audio is giving me a hard time. All right, is anybody else having trouble with the audio? Okay, is anybody else having trouble with the audio? Hope not. Okay, good over here. Job says he's getting it. Manuel still is not getting the audio good. Okay, the drunk engine is saying the car is telling people to. Yeah, I think it's a little bit creepy that the car is telling me to stop and get coffee. Like if I stop and get coffee 3 times, then is it going to start telling me to stop and go to the bathroom? And so I will admit that I kind of find that I find that aspect a little bit creepy. Okay, Mike is saying the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Not really sure how to interpret that, whether you're being sarcastic or not. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that it's an interesting topic of discussion. Okay, Hado Bito, enjoying your channel. All right, that's great. Omar, AI is totally safe except when you put stupid unused code that is marked as features that makes robots want rights. I don't know if I can say anything is ever totally anything. Okay, I don't know if I can ever say that anything is totally anything. So I'm not willing to just say, oh, no problem at all. It isn't something that we should think about. Okay, hello from Phil, from Adrian Alolad. Do you know if and how is working together with social media? Do you know if and how AI? Yeah. Okay, so now you're getting into some of the real topics, okay? So already we're kind of getting a hint of it in the United States that, like, you know, our culture in the United States has always been one kind of rugged individualism and individual rights. And so kind of our culture in America has been to protect free speech, okay, not to protect popular speech, because popular speech does not need to be protected. It's unpopular speech that needs to be protected. Okay, so that's sort of the traditional American culture, is protection of free speech, which almost always means protecting unpopular speech. But now it's kind of been sort of been changed that unpopular speech is now called hate speech. Okay, do I use hate speech? No. Do I hate people? No. Do I go and want to be hateful to people? No. But what I think that there is a right for people to say things even if they're offensive to me. Okay, and so sort of like we're losing this ability to enjoy free speech, because free speech, if it's unpopular speech, it's labeled hate speech. Okay, and then what happens in social media and in places like YouTube, all of a sudden you start getting blocked if you are using unpopular speech, which in the old day was called free speech. Now that's just a tiny little hint of it. Okay, but when you get to some place like China, they actually give people a social score. So like if you think of Facebook and YouTube, what you look at, what you post, what you comment on, it sucks all that information together and it creates a social profile for you. Okay, and then there's bennies that come with, there's kind of like bennies or demerits that come with your social score. So like if you get a good social score, and this thing is rolling out, and so a little bit I'm just sort of kind of giving you a little bit of connecting the dots, but they're going to start using that social score for something. So maybe it's going to be harder to get a good seat on an airplane if your social score isn't good. Again, this is in China. Maybe it's going to be harder to get on the airplane at all if your social score isn't good. And then the other thing that starts happening with these social scores that are developed by artificial intelligence in places like China, all of a sudden it's like they start being a stench that rubs off on other people. So like if you have a bad social score and I start interacting with you online, like exchanging emails and phone calls and text, or even like the system knows where my phone is, the system knows where your phone is, we come into contact and we have personal interaction, all of a sudden my social score drops. And so this social score, which is very easy to put together using artificial intelligence based on your online behavior is a very easy way to control people. Imagine all of a sudden if, you need to make an appointment with a doctor in sort of a socialistic medical system, and your social score isn't good, and all of a sudden you find that you have to wait longer to see the doctor than other people do. So you see, I'm not sure who made the comment, but one of the areas that we can kind of start being concerned about artificial intelligence is when you wrap artificial intelligence around this concept of a social score like they're doing in China, and then all of a sudden, we had better do things right, or our access to certain services is going to be, hindered. Okay, so let's go back and look at some of these comments. Oh man, we're getting a lot of comments here. Okay, AI is totally safe. I kind of disagree with that. That was Jop Bag that said, do you know if AI is working together with social media? Okay, even in this country, it's definitely working together with social media, because how many times do you start just vaguely thinking about something, and then all of a sudden all the ads that you get on the website are associated with that? Well, you can see that they look at your browsing history, and then they see that you're interested in, Arduinos, and then all of a sudden you start seeing a lot of advertisements for Arduinos or shoes or whatever it is that you're searching on. It seems to go beyond just looking at where you're browsing, your browsing history, which it used to be. Now it seems like at least some programs are able to look and read inside your emails and know what you're thinking based on reading your emails. Or it seems like Facebook, when I have ads pop up on Facebook, it's just like, wow, how did they know to show me that? Unless, because I hadn't put anything on Facebook associated with that ad they showed me, but somewhere they got that information to show me that ad, some quirky little thing like, we were talking about hydroponics, and then all of a sudden Facebook is showing me hydroponic ads. Well, are they jumping out of that tab that they're on? Are they jumping into another tab and looking at what's going on? Or if I have a Facebook, tab open, are they able to see more of what I'm doing? Now, that sounds pretty harmless right now, because it's just like, okay, I'm interested in hydroponics and they're showing me some cool deals on hydroponics, not dangerous. Okay, but it's all of a sudden when they know me so well, they can put me in a certain bin, like, this guy seems to be a little bit of a malcontent, or this guy seems to be a guy, do we really want to let that guy on an airplane? He seems a little dangerous to me. See, so it's a very fine line between knowing me well enough to show me the perfect advertisement versus knowing me well enough to start, deciding that maybe I'm kind of a risky guy. Okay, let's see. At what extent do you think AI is helpful? All right, well, I think AI is helpful on things like if it makes the car safer, then I think that's great, because I'm a safe driver, but that guy coming up behind me that's been driving all night, if his car slows down a little bit before he slams me in the rear, that would be a good use of AI. Okay. The other thing about the car, though, that was a little bit creepy to me is there's this app, and from the app, I can unlock my car, I can lock my car, I can start my car, I can do whatever. Well, all of a sudden, like what? I can be driving along and a hacker can if he can get into my cell phone account, if he can get into my login for the app, he could turn my car off. I'm not sure if I like that. So again, kind of using the cars as an example, I think there's good things and not so good things. Okay. Audio is good, right? Good. Resistance is futile. You will be assimilated. Okay. Again, not sure how much of this is sarcasm and how much of it is real. Possible problems. Hito, Beto. Possible problems with AI when not only software fails, but when hardware fails. Yeah, that's true. That is true. And kind of like on that one, I'm not saying that the problem with the Boeing 737 MAX or whatever is an artificial intelligence problem, but it certainly seemed to be a software or a software combined with a hardware problem. And it seemed like, again, there's a lot of stuff and the information is hard to really get at, but it seems like, these are those Boeings that are crashing because the pilot's trying to do one thing and the software is trying to do another thing. All right. So let's kind of take an example of that. So like, what would an artificial intelligence system on an airplane be? Let's say that you had a non-axis inertial measurement system, and if it detected that the nose of the airplane is going down, it would pull it up. Like, it would conclude something's wrong with the pilot. Maybe the pilot is distracted. The airplane's going down, I'm going to pull it up. Well, you brought up the issue, the very good thing about what happens if there's a hardware problem. So let's say that this sensor fails and it says the plane is nosediving. So the control system yanks the plane up and it's still not registering that it's going up. So it says go up further all the way to the point that the plane stalls. Now, what is the pilot doing? He's got eyes, he's got ears, he's trying to push the nose down, but the flight control system is fighting him. And in some of those things with the Boeing, I mean, that's not specifically necessarily what happened in the Boeing crashes, but it did seem like there was an aspect where a live, intelligent pilot was fighting with what the automatic control system was trying to do. And so you see, it's like you can have a hardware problem, like a sensor fail, or you can have a software problem where things aren't working exactly the way you want. And we've reached the point, apparently, where in some of these systems, the control system is so sure that he's right and the pilot is wrong, you end up fighting with it. Now, I can also kind of do that with my Toyota. If I try to pull off, it fights me, but it's not fighting me so hard that it's going to win. Like, if I really wanted to pull over, I'm going to, it's kind of like the steering wheel is giving me a gentle reminder it's not overpowering me. So let's say I'm driving, there's a pedestrian and I want to miss him. Yeah, I could miss him even though there's going to be the Toyota is going to be fighting back with me a little bit. Okay. Let's look at some more of these things. That was a good thing. Hardware can fail, and that can cause problems for artificial intelligence. Thoughts of AI's impact on the future work of education. Okay, guys, this is a big one. All right, this is a big one. And again, artificial intelligence, it's not like it's artificial intelligence or it's not. It sort of starts coming kind of like technology becomes a more and more dominant player. And so let's kind of take the example of an early example of technology of these graphing calculators. Okay, so I'm a math teacher. I can teach you how to do matrices. Okay, and when I teach you how to do matrices, you understand the matrix, you understand what it means, you understand what it's doing, and you can do all of these different things with matrices, which you really, like a lot of engineering and a lot of important math, you have to use matrices. Or you can use the calculator where you just type in the numbers across the row and down, and then it gives you the inverse. You don't have a clue what the inverse is. You don't have a clue what it means, but the homework problem asks you, you type it in, and then you write it down, and it's just like you're adding very little value. You don't understand anything at all. Okay. Now, this is the thing that happens in most high schools. Students use the calculator as a crutch. Like, what things can a graphing calculator do? It can solve a quadratic without you even understanding anything at all about how the quadratic is working. Okay, you don't even understand at all what a quadratic is, but the calculator does it for you. The calculator will do 2 equations and 2 unknowns, 3 equations and 3 unknowns. The calculator will do matrices. I'll give you a clue. When you get to college, they don't let you use calculators in math class. So we're teaching these kids how to punch numbers into calculators, and then they get to college and they do not have a chance. They do not have a chance to survive because they don't know how to do math. They just know how to type numbers into the calculator. All right. Well, at least they're doing something, putting the number in. Now, I'm going to talk about 2 things that do get into artificial intelligence, and I think they really make us scratch our head. There is a phone app that you can download on your phone, and you can open it up and point your phone at the math book, at the math problem. and click snap, it takes a picture of the math problem. It solves the math problem for you. It puts the steps in and it gives you the answer. Okay, you talk about, you know, you want to try to be a high school math teacher now with apps like that out there. Well, you say, okay, if they use that for the homework, you can get them on the test. But then you got to, you know, kids are sneaky and you got to make sure that they're not like, you know, using the phone on the test. So the thing is that app, it uses artificial intelligence, and any problem that would be in a high school and most college math problems, it can solve. This thing can solve calculus problems and put the steps in. Okay, so now the thing you have to think about is, like, let's say I had an engineering company, or I had do different things. I need to hire people. I need help. This is what I want you to think about. If you don't know how to do math, what good are you to me? So when people see these apps, like these math apps, what they think is, oh, that makes my life easier. Does it make your life easier, or does it make you irrelevant? Because if we're going to do math just by taking pictures of the math problem and put it in an app, I can do that. I don't need you. Okay, but I wouldn't do that because I understand math and I know that I can work a problem, understand it, and come up with solutions where you don't have airplanes falling out of the sky, you don't have bridges, you know, falling, you don't have buildings falling over, because you really understand the math and you're not just using a crazy app. So if you look at two things that would be artificial intelligence, would be these very sophisticated math solvers. Okay, and then also these programs that you see advertised so much, like Grammarly. Okay, Grammarly, you don't know how to write a, they make it nice, like, oh, you're a good person and you know how to do all this, we'll just help you be a little better. No, these people don't know how to write a complete sentence, don't know how to communicate clearly, and they put their gibberish in and you kind of get complete sentences out. Well, if I want to hire someone to do a technical manual, I want to hire someone that can really write, not someone that just takes the output of Grammarly. And the problem is, when you do that, we start losing that individual flavor that comes from writing from real people, and we get this generic techno speak that comes out of a computer. Okay, and so I really worry about things like the math solvers and the Grammarly, because I worry that you guys are making yourselves irrelevant. It's not that artificial intelligence is putting you out of a job or out of a future potential career. What it is doing is you're voluntarily making yourself irrelevant. Okay, if you can't write a complete sentence and if you can't solve a math problem, why do I need you, right? Because I could hire someone for a lot less that would just type things into Grammarly or use apps. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's Patrick T's question about the impact of AI on the future of work and education. Man, what I would say is that, especially you young guys, you better think about, how do I make myself relevant? How do I make myself so valuable that you're not going to replace me with a computer? Because I'm not just punching keys in a computer. I understand math. I can express myself. I can communicate. I can take a complicated concept and I can clearly communicate it to you. Make yourselves relevant. Make yourself irreplaceable. Okay. Let's see. Hello, applied informatics student here, Starvos. Okay, let us know what you think here. Just jumped on. Are you talking about a Tesla Autopilot specifically? No, this was on a base Toyota Camry. Just to go in and, hey, I'll take the white one. And I didn't even know it. I'm driving home and it is kind of trying to drive itself. Now, it's not like anything other than if it's going off the road, it senses it and it actually turns the wheel to get you back on the road. But I thought that was pretty surprising that just kind of a standard run-of-the-mill car these days would come with that. I don't know, but the audio is good for me. Good. We can't stop it. It will be used for much good, and it will be used for much okay, I lost that. Much bad. That is probably I would probably agree with that. yeah, you know, it's like what you got to do is you've got to think, right? You got to think for yourself. You've got to analyze. So before you do something like use a calculator or use a phone app or use Grammarly, you have to ask yourself, am I making myself irrelevant by doing that? Okay, social credit score sounds evil to me. Yes, I would agree with that. And you kind of got the full-blown social credit score in China, and you sort of have the social media light here in the United States with things like Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, who are very hard on independent thought. Okay, I'm kind of a mainstream guy, so I don't have a problem, but you know, all of a sudden I see people that express, you know, unpopular opinion and then get hit pretty hard. Maybe you can talk about jobs mainly for less educated people. Okay, man, jobs for less educated people. I went to a Starbucks recently. Okay, I went to a Starbucks recently, and what I found was, like, you know, I'm kind of a coffee aficionado, so, you know, like I have a real cappuccino machine, you know, a really nice Rocket cappuccino machine. And used to, when you would go in Starbucks, they would have the grinder and the dosser, and then they would put it in there, and you kind of had to know how to make a good cappuccino. All right, but now I've noticed they've gone to the super automatic. So you have a lady taking the order. Okay, do I really? I don't mean do I need her, but does the world really need her? No, just a kiosk with pictures. You can hit the picture of the coffee you want as well as she can, and then you can get your extra slim, skinny, wet, whatever, you know, coffee that you want. You really don't need the girl sitting there. You can swipe your card and you can hit the button. Okay, now there's a guy sitting there pressing the button on the machine based on what it was that you wanted. Well, you could have it go directly from the kiosk to that. And so if I look at the people in Starbucks, man, jobs like that are going to be completely irrelevant. So anybody that is working in a coffee shop or the fast food industry, I think that with artificial intelligence combined with robotics, the jobs of 100 people are going to be replaced by 2 people, because you just need someone that's loading the canister of burger patties into the machine, and then probably they'll even have a robot that'll do that. So then you'll just need a guy driving the canisters of burger patties to the store, and then with, you know, like they're even now introducing long haul trucks that will be self-driving. So pretty soon, you know, even truck drivers, you're going to probably need a lot less of them. So you young guys had better future-proof your careers, and you better be thinking of getting skills that cannot be replaced with artificial intelligence. So like, what's a good one? Be a plumber, right? Everyone is going to, you know, need to use the toilet, and when toilets are used, they break, and that's not something that a robot is going to fix, because every single toilet is different, every house is different, every situation is different. The world will, for the rest of your life, need plumbers, an electrician, and skilled tradesmen. It's going to need diesel mechanics. It's going to need people that know how to do a trade. So I think that that's sort of an AI-proof type of career. But grocery stores, putting things on the shelf, those jobs are going away. Checking you out, those things are going away. You know, the service industry is really, really, really going to be deeply impacted. So we're kind of talking about artificial intelligence. But when you combine artificial intelligence with robotics, I think that you really got to be concerned about, is there a place for you in the world when your cell phone and your apps and your robots and your technology do everything? Well, what happens to you when you're no longer relevant? Okay, what happens to you when you're no longer relevant? And that gets into social engineering. You know, that gets into social engineering things. What do you do when 3/4 of the population is not needed and has absolutely no needed skill to offer? Kind of a little bit of a scary question there. Okay, so jobs for less educated people. There's a difference between education and skills. I don't care how much education you have. What I care is, what are your skills? So don't be thinking that you need a PhD. Think about what skills can you bring to the table? Okay, AI will contribute to make us consumers, not doers and makers. We need new education that will shape our creativity. Yeah, we really do, because we are becoming consumers. And that's why I tell you guys, man, you young guys, throw out your Xboxes and games. Don't be a watcher, be a doer. Don't be a consumer, be a producer. Okay, like you saw my greenhouse, I produce food. You saw my chicken coop, I produce eggs. You see my tutorials, I produce videos. You see my everything. I am building, I am making, I am creating, I am cooking, I am growing, I am fixing, I am designing, I am building. Okay, I'm not watching. I'm not watching anything. People ask me, how do you have so much time to do all these things that you do? How do you have so much time to do all this stuff? Well, it's simple. I don't have a TV. Okay, I don't have a TV. You want to know another one? I don't go to movies. You know, you want to know another one? I don't waste my time watching golf or playing golf. I am producing. Okay, but our culture is making us a bunch of consumers as opposed to a bunch of producers, and it's a choice you make, and I think that you should make that choice very, very carefully. Okay, I think that we are lucky that there was no AI during the Second World War. Okay, what we could fear with AI is that it would displace a lot of workers. Yeah, Julius, that's exactly what we're talking about. Okay, and it's nobody's going to come and say, here, I figured out how to take care of you. You've got to future-proof yourself. You've got to future-proof yourself. Now, I'm kind of an old guy, and it doesn't matter. I'm also kind of a little bit of a curmudgeon, and so you're not gonna displace me, because I always have skills that that are going to be needed. Okay, so I have future-proofed myself, and what I want you to do is future-proof yourself. How do you future-proof yourself? Okay. Keep doing what you're doing. Learn how to take hardware and make it do useful things. Continue to learn. Continue to build your skills. You guys get on the Khan Academy. Learn math. There's so much that you can learn on the internet these days, but you got to be on the internet learning, not watching silly cat videos. Okay. I see a big danger in the church of AI and transhumanism. Yeah, the whole transhuman thing is a little bit creepy, if you ask me. I have two questions. What time is it currently in your area? Okay, it is currently 2 minutes after 11 where I am. Okay, and when you are broadcasting the next time. Well, I release 2 videos a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. Texas time. Watching from Nigeria. Hey man, how's it going in Nigeria? The live stream is very interesting topic. Okay, yeah, good deal. Does anyone know Detroit? Okay, Detroit Become Human. I'm not sure what that is. The data they are collecting is being used to train neural nets that are intended to control every aspect of our lives. Yeah. I mean, they really are learning a lot about us, and you can actually get paranoid sometimes, like something that I have not browsed the web for. Okay, I haven't browsed the web for, like, let's say, my daughter told me on the phone that she got pregnant, in a good way, right? That she's married and was wanting a child, and that she was celebrating being pregnant. And then I call my mom and tell her, and then, sitting around having a conversation with my wife. And I didn't go on online and start searching anything. And all of a sudden I was getting baby diaper commercials. Okay, advertisements. How did that happen? Maybe it was just a random, maybe it was just a random thing, but you start thinking, are these smart devices listening to me? Are they listening to conversations? How did it know to show me a diaper commercial? I don't know. Okay, well, AI. Okay, I am trying to. Okay, the data they're collecting, yeah. Wouldn't it help us spot criminals? Yeah, wouldn't it help us spot criminals? But all of a sudden it becomes so good at spotting criminals, it spots the criminal before they commit the crime. Okay, like this guy, You know, I think he's going to rob a liquor store because, you know, he seems to drink, he seems to own a gun, and he seems to be driving towards the liquor store with a gun. Okay, well, let's say maybe he's not an alcoholic. Maybe he buys a lot of vodka because vodka is an ingredient. If you're making vanilla extract, you know, what you use in baking, vodka is the base for making vanilla extract. And maybe this guy is growing vanilla beans, so he's buying a lot of vodka, so he's making vanilla extract for a local bakery. And then he also, you know, maybe is a sportsman. Okay, and he's not driving to the liquor store, he is driving to the gun range, okay, on the other side of the liquor store. So you see, all of a sudden, this artificial intelligence will start identifying crime before it is committed. Yes, machine learning will help identify criminals, but how much freedom do we want to sacrifice? Good question. Okay, problem with AI is going more dangerous with things like connecting AI with the brain. Yeah. You know, this whole transhumanism, I think that's a ways off, but I think what is real is that, are you going to be able to make yourself relevant in the future? Are you going to get replaced by some combination of AI and robotics? Yes, machine learning will help identify criminals. Okay, relying on automation and AI gives us a boost on performance, but during downtime, people find it hard to do things. Will AI be able to stop war or selecting? Well, that's kind of a scary thing, you know, when you take humans out of the loop as far as who should be the leader, you know, because there's sort of like something unique with us called a conscience and a moral compass. And that is not something that I think a machine can have. Accuracy of data will be crucial for AI. I really think so. Can we make AI to avoid thinking about something? That is an interesting question. Yeah, watching TV. Should an engineer go for artificial intelligence specialization? Okay, I think there are going to be huge opportunities in the future for robotics and artificial intelligence. But that kind of, if I were a young man, you're getting into a buzzsaw when you do that, because the technology is changing so quickly. The technology is changing so quickly that you're going to have to spend your life, if you blink, you're going to be irrelevant because the technology is changing so quickly. Things like instrumentation, control systems, a lot of things I think are things that you can develop real old skill mastery of, and you can be the master of analog design or the master of operational amplifiers or control systems and control theory and all these different things. But once you dip your toe into AI, you better be ready to stay on the top of your game from now on. Okay, haircuttery is also secure. I will tell you though, I went 30 years without going to a barber because I had a little machine called a RoboCut, and it was a little spinning set of clippers inside of a tube hooked to a vacuum cleaner. You set the length you want, you just went like this, and you could give yourself a perfect haircut. I used that thing for 30 years, and then it broke, and I couldn't buy another one. But, you know, technology did kind of keep me, and let's say if you spent $20 a month, that would be, what, $600 a year? That would be 10 years would be $6,000. $20,000 in my life I've saved by not going to the barber on a little $50 item. Okay, I don't watch YouTube. Well, I think you, AD, it seems like you are watching YouTube right now. Maybe you mean you don't waste time on YouTube. Can you teach a new language to suit your idea of this lesson, Danny from Israel? Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of interested. I'm really interested in technology, and you guys know that I really like technology. Okay, I'm really very fascinated with technology. I'm adept at technology. I'm kind of like Mr. High Tech kind of guy. But at the same time, I do really think about what is really going on And I'm not necessarily sure that all of this stuff is automatically good. So I'm a little cautious about some of this stuff. Why be afraid? Because middle class lose job, big corporations make more profit. Yeah, middle class is being eliminated. So you're going to have the rich people and you're going to have the poor people. But it's middle class that makes America great or the world great. It's the middle class. And so having the elites and the serfs, I don't think is a very good system. And I think that's kind of what we go towards. And I don't want to be controlled. I don't want someone giving me food, right? I will work hard and buy my food. If I can't do that, I'll grow my food. And if I can't grow my food, I'll starve. But I will not eat, handout food. Okay. People receive global basic income. That seems real popular with young people, basic universal income, because, if you really look at like Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, and if you look at some of this modern think literature, if you look at the literature that's controlling actions, that initially they get people to get on board, and you're the hip and you're the cool people, like, yeah, I'll get my latte and I'll latte and super slim wet latte with heavy this, all this stuff, and get my latte, and then I'm the cool hip guy that knows all these things like universal basic income, and yeah, let's do this, and okay, you know what, you're being manipulated. Because the people that are giving you those ideas, you know what they call you? They call you the useful idiot. Okay, they call you the useful idiots. They come into bringing their programs into place based on people like you who are known as the useful idiots. Now, once the system gets in place and they're in control, you're no longer the useful idiot. You know what you are then? You're called the useless eater. Because you're just sitting there getting that universal basic income. They don't need you anymore. So they stop calling you a useful idiot and they start calling you a useless eater. So then they start deciding, who really do we need to expend food on and who do we know? Be very careful about a universal basic income. Okay, it's not all gloom and doom. And what about tech breakthroughs? Yeah, it is not all gloom and doom. Absolutely, it's not gloom and doom. I think it's good that it's less likely that a car is going to rear end me because the driver is inattentive, because the car has more intelligence. Okay, so you're right, it is not all gloom and doom. I think, like, let me give you another great example of technology. All right, in the medical field, more and more now, like if you're in a rural area and a guy comes into the emergency room and maybe you don't even have a real doctor, you've got a physician's assistant or a nurse practitioner, it's like way beyond what they feel confident about. You know what? In most emergency rooms in rural areas, they hit a button and immediately on the screen, within 5 seconds, is a trauma expert doctor who then has direct access to all of the measurements that are being made in that emergency room, all the vital statistics, all of that view of the patient, and he says, you've got to aspirate right now, right now. He sees, he understands, and he gives instructions that you can't. Okay. Technology where you have experts that you, like, you can't have a guy trained to that level in every single little rural emergency room because he's going to be sitting there most of the day. You put him at one of these hubs and you got 5 of them, you know how many you need, and you can all day long be doing what you're an expert at, and no one has to wait for more than 5 seconds to get that. So you see, there's some really, really neat things about the technology. But we can't just be enamored with those neat things. I think we got to think about both sides of it. Where is the money for basic income coming from? Yeah, it's coming from the people who work. And that works until everybody figures out that they don't have to work, and then where does it come from? I feel the concern is the effect on human security. AI weapons could be massive destruction should anything go wrong. Yeah, and that's one of the things, like I was really involved, I was at the national laboratories, and I had like the most secure clearances. Like I had clearances you haven't even heard of, like top secret is kind of like, it's like nothing. And so I really was on the inside of high technology and warfare, war fighting, and national intelligence and all that kind of stuff. And always there was always a human in the loop. So you can have something like a drone, and you can have all this really sophisticated technology to figure out this is the bad guy, and this is where he is, and this is how we lock onto him. And yeah, okay, take him out. Right. Now, you might be for that sort of thing, or you might be against that sort of thing. I'm not saying you should be for or against it, but I'm saying that there was always a human in the loop. But what appears to be happening is, if you just look at some of the DARPA, proposals, and the DARPA, you can learn a lot looking at DARPA's request for technology development. You can kind of see the direction people are thinking, and it seems like the direction is that the human is being taken out of the loop, and AI is making that kill decision. Okay, so it's kind of like we're getting to the point that AI decides who the bad guy is, and then decides to take him out. All right, well, now we can get more and more sophisticated on how we decide with artificial intelligence who the bad guy is. And the scary thing is, one day you turn around and you learn, guess what? You're the bad guy. So taking the human out of the loop is a little bit, it's a little bit scary, scary for me. Our own technology against us. Should I learn programming? Yes, James Hall, you should learn programming. Okay. Hey, watching from Ghana. I am learning nice things here. Hey, I've never been to Ghana, but I, as you know, love Africa, and I've been there like a dozen times. You helped me with Raspberry Pi project. It's good to see you. All right, Mohammed, good to see you. Can artificial intelligence clear our doubt? Not sure how to answer that. What's the most important thing to start learn about IoT? Arduino, Raspberry Pi, or what? I would start with Arduino, but the question is where to go from there, and probably from Arduino. I don't like Raspberry Pi because you can't turn it on and off, and the memory card gets corrupted. So I think probably beyond Arduino, I would try to go to like an ESP32 type system, perhaps running the Arduino interface or maybe the MicroPython, and I think that would be the core platform if you really wanted to do IoT. Programming is a good job. We live in a digital world. Yeah, programming is, but man, it changes so fast. And I have a huge respect for the people in India. They're like some of the most advanced technical people and the brightest minds in the world, but it's also a poor country. And so if you sort of are in the United States and accustomed to a Western standard of living, it's very easy for your job to be outsourced to a person who is willing to do it at a lower cost and a higher skill level. And so programming is kind of like a race to the bottom, who can do the best job for the cheapest price, and it's easy to do it remotely. And so then let's say all the jobs move to India, but then all of a sudden Vietnam starts, and so you see software development is kind of, to me, a race to the bottom. It's who's willing to work the hardest and do it the cheapest. I want something that is harder to outsource. I want something where these quirky little things that make us human are needed, okay, like education or like invention, things like that. So software, I think, is kind of a hard thing. Future will have different minds for different AI, but will bad few, will good? How do you see the development AI chips-based controller? Not sure. Oh, thank you for the compliment. You're okay. Very, very good. Appreciate the compliment. If AI takes up all the jobs, what will humans do, and how human make money to buy one? Yeah, I mean, we're kind of getting there. I hate to say it, but we're kind of getting there, because if you look at the young generation, the under 30 generation, there is a frightening percentage of those kids that can't launch independent households. Like, what do I mean? You finish your education, you get a job, you get a paycheck, and then you move out and live independently, okay? And then meet a young woman, you get married, and then you support a household, or with your wife you support a household, sort of like that traditional thing that has made things keep going. So many young people are moving back with mama, okay, living in the basement. Or like, I know one kid, it's like finally his mama said, you can't stay here any longer. So then his old buddy from college, who's now married, he moves in with his old buddy who's married. And then The guy thinks it's great. Hey, you know, I've got a wife and I got my buddy. That's the best of both worlds. But you know what? The wife doesn't think it's so cool having this other guy around. So this guy is just going kind of like from apartment to apartment trying to find a place to stay. And more young people cannot sustain themselves. And what they're doing is they'll work, you know, they'll have 3 jobs. They'll work at Starbucks, they'll work at the grocery store, and then they'll work at a convenience store, and then try to scrape together enough so that they live at home and then have enough money for beer and cigarettes. Okay, I hate to say it, but that's the trend that I'm seeing. Now, on the other hand, there's some very fine young people. The young people that I teach, really, really fine. They're hardworking, they're respectful, they go off to college, they get engineering degrees, and they become productive members of the society. But they make that conscious decision, to where so many kids make the conscious decision of spending their time looking at silly memes on their phone, video games, pornography, you know, intoxicants, you know, and then they have absolutely nothing to offer society. And that's kind of frightening to me. How do you see the development of AI chips beyond controllers? I'm not sure. Let's see. Please reply fast. Be fast. Do you know hacking? I do not hack just because, you know, there's enough legitimate stuff to do. Will I unprivate my uploaded videos? No, I will not. I release 2 a week. If I just dump them on you, it would be kind of like vomiting on you, right? It'd just be, bleh. You couldn't handle it. So be patient and watch the story unfold week by week, week by week. What I'm working on now is this 9-axis inertial measurement system. I think I've got 3 or 4 of those videos already made. I hope you guys will get that BNO 055 and do that along with me. I am having a lot of fun with that one. Future will have different minds for different AI. Few will be bad, few will be good. Yeah, they'll be good and bad. How do you see, okay, can doctors be replaced? Oh man, there's a lot that doctors do that a lot of them will be replaced, because if you think of a traditional general practitioner doctor, what he's done is he's memorized a huge amount of things. So he can look at a person and he can analyze their symptoms. Okay, and that's really pretty easy. You could probably learn to analyze symptoms in like 6 months. Okay, but what he spends 6 years doing is memorizing every possible thing that could be associated with the symptoms. So it's mapping the symptoms to the potential problems. Man, that is something AI could do better than a doctor. And so rather than having so many people spend 12 years learning and memorizing all of these books, you could train people more effectively in identifying the symptoms, inputting the symptoms, and then knowing what blood work to do, inputting that, and then when you get the results back, then, you know, apply treatment to the patient. Now, you'll always need trauma doctors and you'll always need surgeons, but I think a lot of the general practitioners will probably end up being displaced with artificial intelligence. Try not to tell the whole story for a single comment. Oh, okay, I think I'm being told that I'm spending too much time on one comment. Greetings from Romania. Hey, okay. I've joined. Have you watched Black Mirror series? I have not watched Black Mirror series. I'm a tradesman but want to learn, practice AI coding. Okay. Yeah, if you're a tradesman, that's good because your future is future proof. If you want to learn coding, look at my Arduino series, my Raspberry Pi series, and then there is a channel on YouTube called Syndex, which really goes into more of the artificial intelligence stuff. Okay, Elon Brain Neuralink would expose the future of human. Okay, if you could choose an upgrade for Arduino, what would it be? I don't know yet. I think that I'm not interested in the Raspberry Pi because it's just like trying to build a fast computer on a chip for like media streaming and things like that. I'd be more interested in the ESP32. Okay. Psychology jobs will be among the last to go. Okay. Keeping God at the center of our lives is more important than anything else. Good luck, everyone else. Yeah, if you come from a perspective of faith, your faith can ground you as you look at things. If it kind of depends on your worldview. If you view that you are created in God's image and put here in order to serve Him and love your neighbor and bring glory to Him, you look at technology in a different light than if you just see it as we're just random, we're random chance assimilation of atoms who just have a certain window here to seek as much pleasure as we can. You see, it's kind of like a different worldview. So kind of like your worldview makes a big difference in how you look at some of these things. AI and renewable energy. I am so much in favor of renewable energy, and I think AI could be a very important thing. I think that AI is kind of like an enabler for practical systems of renewable energy. Would you be really good? Can you please release 3 videos a week? No more videos for you. 2 videos a week is what you get. Okay. In Serbia, it's worse than ever. People don't do anything; they just wait for parents' money. Okay. Well, Serbia, you're not the only one. Okay. Video quality is much better. Hey, have you noticed that? I've kind of increased the resolution. What I found out was that I was overwhelming my Wirecast to where it couldn't keep up. And so I had to throttle back the resolution of my camera and throttle back some of the things. What I found out was that my encoding was using the CPU, and I was able to just flip a switch in Wirecast where it started using the graphics card to do the image compression and a lot of the computing, and boom, just like that, I can run full bore with what I have. Okay. Can human consciousness be transferred to AI in the future? I don't think truly it can. I think there's something unique. There's some spark of the divine in us that is, you can kind of make silicon act like a person, but you can never get silicon to be a person. Okay. I need some ESP tutorials. Well, I do not know ESP yet, so I don't know if I can do that. I really don't know if I can do that. Okay. So you guys, do you have any last questions on AI? I think that, my bottom line is that I think there's some really great things that will happen from it. I think that we have to be cautious about some aspects of it. I think the places that you need to be cautious is that you need to future-proof yourself. You need to see that if you're a low-skill person that's enjoying making $20 an hour at Starbucks, and you're in your 20s, that job isn't going to be there for the rest of your life. You got to get a real skill. Okay, you got to get a real skill. If you work in the food service industry, if you work as a cashier, a checkout person, you've got to get yourself real skills. Thumbs up on plumbers, electricians, welders, diesel mechanics, wind turbine technologists, instrumentation, engineers, the medical community. Those are real skills that people are going to need. But man, if you just have a job where you sit around and push paper, or you can't clearly communicate to someone, like if I ask you, think about this, what do you do and why is it important? And you can't give me a real simple answer, you need to be concerned that you might not have a future-proof job. Okay, let's see. Here light is gone, but watching on mobile. Okay, what is your question? Have you ever used Tinkercad? No, I have used Fritzing. It's kind of neat. I like Fusion 360. Children are totally dependent on their parents up to around 20 years of age. Okay, what do you think about Elon, Brain, Neuralink, and the future of cyborg? Elon Musk is kind of an interesting character, and I'm not sure if he's a genius or I'm not sure if he's insane, but some of the stuff he says is just, is just crazy. Okay, some of the stuff that he just says is crazy, but then you look, there's some really cool stuff that he's doing, like with SpaceX and things like that. So I will withhold judgment on Elon Musk. Okay, your greenhouse is outstanding. Very good. Thank you. Appreciate the kind words on the greenhouse. Okay, guys. So, bottom line on artificial intelligence is I think there are going to be some great things coming along. I'm going to keep my eyes on it. I'd like to learn a little bit more about starting to kind of work with it at the board level. Okay, but at the same time, I think that we've got to be cautious and we've got to really think about the incredible power that it gives people to be used in inappropriate ways. Okay, so I believe that we are going to wrap things up here. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and next Tuesday we will release our next Arduino video. Paul McWhorter from TopTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.